You're all unique, one of a kind. There's no one on this earth that's exactly like you. I'm sure many of you have heard these lines before, whether it's from your mom, a teacher, maybe a friend, and so have I, but I can't necessarily relate to them. I have an identical twin sister, and although I am my own person, and I'm very different from she is in many ways, I will admit I am way more similar to her than I am different. I've been a twin my whole life, and it has significantly shaped who I am. You may not be a twin, but you may know a twin, you might meet a twin in the future, or you may even have twins one day, you never know. So I hope my presentation today will help you gain some insight into what it's like to be a twin. So today I'll be explaining the different types of twins and how they're formed. Then I'll elaborate on a study that twins are used for and what it reveals. And finally, I'll explain how twins can be affected by being born as a pair rather than just singly. So first things first, a little background information. By definition, twins are two offspring produced by one pregnancy. And according to David Isaacs in his article Twins, published in Journal of Pediatrics and Child Health, 1 in 80 pregnancies results in twins, and only 1 in 200 pairs is identical. So this statistic just shows how rare it is to be an identical twin. But I found another statistic that just emphasized that even further. So according to Li Zhang in the article A Talking Profile to Distinguish Identical Twins, published in 2014, identical twins make up 0.2% of the world population, which really startled me because I never use the word unique to describe myself, but obviously being an identical twin does make me different, even though I have a replica of myself in a way. So, should I unplug it and plug it back in?
Sure. Oh, here it comes.
Oh. Okay, so twins are separated into two categories, fraternal and identical twins. According to Catherine S. Lemery in the article Twin Studies published in 2002, identical twins are formed when one egg is fertilized by one sperm, and then they are split into two genetically identical halves, and they'll always end up being the same sex, and they'll have the same genes. So that's what you see in this diagram here, and next to that lovely diagram is a picture of my sister and I. We are identical twins. And I like to think of identical twins as an apple. If you cut an apple in half, the two halves will look a little bit different, but they come from the same apple, so I'd like to think that we look a little different. Okay, Catherine S. Lemery goes on in her article to say that fraternal twins are formed when two eggs are fertilized by two separate sperm, and they are shared about half of their genes, which is typical of just regular siblings, and they can be either same sex or opposite sex. So the studies that twins are usually used for are cases of nature versus nurture. And if some of you maybe have had a psychology class and know what that term is, but if not, nature versus nurture is a debate of whether our genes or our environment shape our traits. So now I'm going to elaborate on a specific study that twins are used for in the case of nature versus nurture. So the separated at birth method. According to Daniel Seligman in his article Genes on the Job, published in Fortune, separated birth method is where identical twins are separated at a very young age and raised apart. So think of like The Parent Trap, the movie. And they have the same genes but are raised in different environments. So a rather consistent theme with the results of this method is that twins who are raised apart who may not even know that they have a twin will end up having the same hobbies or similar career paths as their twin. So for the longest time, my sister and I would blame my parents for putting us in the same sports in high school and same hobbies, and that's why we're so similar. But really, genes play a huge role in that as well. Okay, so this is a kind of freaky example of separated at birth method. This is a Jim twin study. So this is Jim Springer and Jim Lewis. They are identical twins who were separated at 4 weeks old and adopted by two different families. Two families did not know each other, but just happened to name both their sons James, so the twins actually have the same first name. So Jim and Jim, 39 years old, reunited. They obviously had a lot to catch up on, and they discovered just how similar their lives had become. So I'm going to list some of the similarities. They were both married to women named Betty and divorced from women named Linda. One has named his first son James Allen, while the other also named his first son James Allen. They both named their pet dog Toy, and they each did poorly in spelling and well in math, and the list just keeps going. It's really freaky. So this just shows how genes play such a huge role in the development of our traits. So this brings me to my last point. According to the last study, my sister Megan and I probably would have been really similar if my mom hadn't put us in the same room for 12 years or we hadn't had the same friends in high school. So how has being a twin actually affected us, and would we be different if we weren't twins at all? According to Matteo Martini and other contributors in the article, Is That Me or My Twin? Lack of Self-Face Recognition Advantage in Identical Twins, published in 2015, it has been suggested that identical twins encounter difficulties in the self-identification process, as they have a stronger sense of identity as a couple rather than as an individual. And this can lead to self-confidence issues because they're constantly being compared to each other, and sometimes even fosters competition between twins. Twins can also suffer from social anxiety and have a phobia of interacting with other people, and can't properly function as an individual sometimes. And I'd like to think that I haven't experienced any of these side effects of being a twin, but they are very common. I like to think of being a twin in a more optimistic light and think that maybe I'm a more caring person because I care for her as much as I do for myself. So in conclusion, I hope the presentation that I presented to you today gave you a solid understanding of what twins are and how they're formed, the studies they are used in, and how they are changed because they were born with another person. Being born a fraternal or identical twin has its upsides and its downsides. But all in all, as cliche as it may sound, having a twin means you have a constant best friend, and I wouldn't change it for the world.